F1 might be saying goodbye to Imola after this year, but in the virtual world, the popularity of this track remains. So much so, we get to kick things off this time as we get ready for the first round of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legends Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Roush Racing driver Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes, our director Christian Duploy, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Imola's gone through a lot of changes over its history, so to get up to speed, let's head to our track guide. Welcome to the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari, but most race fans know this place as simply Imola. This circuit in the northern part of Italy has seen some of the highest highs and lowest lows in motorsports history. The various tragedies that have marred the track left no choice but to alter it in the name of safety. While it originally featured mostly fast, sweeping corners, its modern 3-mile or 5-kilometer version is punctuated by tricky chicanes and incredibly technical turns. iRacing includes the Grand Prix layout and a moto version, which adds one more chicane to the front stretch. Tamburello is perhaps the most notorious of the corners for claiming the life of multi-time world champion Ayrton Senna when it was still a single breathtaking turn. Now the Triple Apexer not only offers potential passing opportunities, but catches out drivers quite frequently. While heavy braking zones are everywhere, because few places allow the cars to get up to speed, overtaking is generally seen as an exercise in frustration. As if to almost counteract this quality, the track itself is situated in a gorgeous public park and sends the drivers through the beautifully calming Italian countryside. It also includes a fair bit of elevation change in which the track is split between the higher up back half and the lower first portion. It's no wonder that this place still proves popular with drivers and fans in spite of its difficulties in history. The Tifosi keep returning each and every time the sound of engines roar among the trees, and who can blame them? Well, this is definitely a very technical, but also a fast track, Joey.
It is a very fun track, and I think the drivers really enjoy racing on this one. Here we are at Imola. And of course, 17 turns, 3.05 miles, and this is a track filled with chicanes nowadays. Another little tricky part is this front straightaway, as you can see, not very straight at all. So it kind of means the brake zone going into that Tamburello chicane there can get a little bit tricky, not only in the real world, but here in the virtual world as well. And then the second chicane, turns 5 and 6. It is very fast. You have to be incredibly quick on the entry section over there. And of course, it leads you into that turn number 7, that Tosa hairpin that leads you uphill into turn number 8. Then we get a lot of the elevation through this Italian circuit, down through Acqua Minerale, and then up the hill again to one of our final chicanes, Variante Alta, up at the top of the hill. Turns number 11 and 12. That can be a little bit of a tricky one, and you got to be able to put the power down coming out of that chicane because it leads you down into the turn 14, 15 Ravazza section, which is always a great passing opportunity, Joe. But the run to the line, start finish, is actually a considerable way down the front straightaway here.
Yeah, so that should make it interesting coming to the end of the race if things are close, but we'll tackle that when we get there. In the meantime, if you're not familiar with this series, here's what we have up in store for today's event. As we mentioned, first round of the season, kicking it off here at Imola. 20 laps that the drivers will execute. Open setups for these cars, so drivers will be able to try and tweak it to their liking to make the handling more comfortable to them. But this series is very open about sharing those setups. So if you're new to this car and you want to try and take part, feel free to go and talk to some of the drivers in this community because they'll likely be willing to share their favorite setup with you. No spare car though, so if you break it, you bought it. And honestly, it's very easy to do in this car. It is a tricky one to drive. Drive through at 17 incidents, DQ at 25. Could be an issue today, Joey, with the way that this is a modern F1 track and they have a lot of paved runoff in places.
They do have a lot of paved runoff out here, but I think the key with these 49s, same thing with the 79s, anytime you're driving these open wheel cars, you want to stay in your own lane. You don't want to go invading somebody else's space out there. So definitely don't want to be causing incidents here on this beautiful Italian circuit, albeit it looks a little foggy here this afternoon in the virtual world.
Yeah, they haven't implemented rain tires on this Lotus. Obviously, the Lotus 79 just got it this season, but it'll stay dry out there, but it is definitely hazy in the air. So I'm sure it's quite humid for them as we see the 13 head down into one of the many braking zones, the many chicanes coming through Alta, getting ready to try and set a time. How important do you feel like the track position, the qualifying is going to be today, Joey?
Whenever we talk about qualifying, it's always important with that track position to start as far forward as possible. That way, if there's any mess in the back, you're already ahead of it. Here at Imola, I think there are some good passing opportunities given that we have so many chicanes per lap. However, they can also be a little bit of a choke point. Kind of think of an accordion, right? It stretches out, and then when it gets to these slow sections, it all kind of compresses up. But when it does compress, there's not necessarily a whole lot of open spots to move forward. Hence your reasoning, Joe. Track position, going to be important.
Now, one driver that's going to be conspicuously missing is Adrius Valenteus, as he is not here today. Not sure if he's going to be taking part again this season or if he'll take a break after really dominating the last couple championships. Mick Claridge would probably appreciate that. Gives him a better chance to go and finally take a few wins. It's been a bit up and down for him as of late. I understand he had some technical issues. He's back, so I would assume he's done what he needs to do to take care of that.
Always fun to have Mick out here, and right now he is our provisional pole sitter. That lap time, a 140.8 that last time by, and of course he's coming down the hill here into this turn number 14, 15 Ravazza section here. Hard on the brakes, jumping over the curbs, careful on the gas right here because you still got this second apex. Now you really lay into the throttle, but prevent that wheel spin, drive the car towards the start-finish line.
Let's see if it's an improvement. Now, like you said, it's a long ways down to that timing line. It's a 40.7, so about a tenth quicker. That puts him, he was about a half second ahead of the next car. Kevin Verbruggen onto the front row. Kevin has shown continual improvement season over season, and this is another step up.
He really has. I think he kind of turned it up a whole notch in terms of his speed the last half of last season. Not only that, but he's definitely cleaned things up on the racetrack in terms of the racecraft as well. And that's the other battle, is that you can always be fast when it comes to doing laps, but you got to make it to the checkered flag too. And Verbruggen's definitely picked it up. He's going to be starting in a nice spot already here today.
Both he and Nicola Kaki have completed both of their laps, so they're done for now. But this man, Jorge Nieva, is on his second lap, currently sitting in fifth position. We could see an improvement. Now, qualifying hasn't always been his strong suit, although he's been slowly improving upon that. Let's see if this can be better than that 41.4 of last time by. That's about not quite 7/10 off of pole time.
I don't think it's going to be drastically that much faster. I think we saw Mick Claridge go about a tenth of a second faster. Verbruggen had a bigger pickup on his second lap. It was a few tenths, but I think picking up nearly 7/10, 3/4 of a second is going to be a tall ask for Jorge Nieva. Now, he is a previous Lotus 49 champion, so if there's somebody that can get it done, definitely look towards this number one board. A little bit out wide right there, but that's so important to carry the speed. As long as you don't pick up that incident point, you're A-okay.
And it's not just those incident points that you got to watch out for. It's those slowdown penalties in a couple spots around here. They can make or break a race. We've seen it before, and I have no doubt that for somebody, it's going to affect them once again. Off of Ravazza and to the timing line, Jorge Nieva. Is he going to improve on this fifth place? A 40.7. Yeah, that is a big improvement. He is off the pole by 8 thousandths of a second. He will join Mick Claridge.
The sim racers love proving me wrong. That was a huge pickup from Nieva, and like you said, 8 1,000ths of a second off of Mick Claridge's pole time. That was one heck of a second lap as we check out the number 38 car of Perales here. He's going to try to complete his qualifying session, but I just noticed only 4 seconds remaining. It's not going to make it to the line.
Yep, that will be it for our qualifying. All drivers are now done, and the grid is set for the first race of the season. And that puts Mick Claridge up with another pole. In fact, I think he is our driver with the most poles in this series. So as we take a look at that starting order, Claridge, as we said, starting from the top spot, will be flanked by Jorge Nieva to his outside. Kevin Verbruggen will be in P3. Nicola Kaki starting fourth today. Leo Sequeiro in P5, followed by Glenn Becker to his outside. Jim Madsen starts in seventh. Bill Tyler, good enough for P8 today. Gary Ho with an excellent qualifying in ninth. And Henry Morse rounds out your top 10.
Over in 11th, we've got Rolly Wallbank, and the next to him is going to be Gary Quellen starting in the 12th place. Mikhail Zabala in 13th with Roberto Pengrazzi in 14th. Matthew Maudsley starting from the 15th position with Santiago Frega in 16th. Cam Porter 17th, Kurt Clapper 18th, Mickey Friesen 19th, and John Olson rounding out your top 20.
From there, it's going to be Robert Plumley starting in 21st. Andy Banerjee will be 22nd. Henry Verimaki will be P23. Tobias Harnvey, 24th. And then Ben Summers in the 25th position. Thomas Willershausen will start on the outside of row 13. Samuel Ma, 27th. And Andre Bruno in 28th. Zen Carr, what a name for a race car driver, starts in 29th. And Paul Taylor will start 30th.
And we got Dwayne Schrader back here in 31st, Jason Clapper in 32nd, Aitor Fernandez Blanco back here in 33rd, Thomas Tuba 34th, Seb Clapper 35th, and a few more as we got the lights already on the racetrack.
41 cars going to be taking part in today's race, and there is the green flag off the line. It looks like it is a decent start from Nieva, but it's also a pretty good start from Verbruggen. He's already looking down to the inside, coming up to Tamburello. A bit of a battle there for fourth as we go side by side between Kaki and Sequeiro, but they're going to get single file as well through this opening chicane. Not seeing incidents yet. I think we've managed it clean.
I'm knocking on the wood desk over here, and yes, I think I see everybody through, call it the turn 2-3 chicane, and now we go through this Villeneuve chicane, turn number 5 and 6. This is where you really got to carry the entry speed, and look at P2 taking a look to the inside. That's Nieva trying to get a run on our leader, McClarridge.
Claridge gave him room down at the apex, but he'll hold ahead for the time being. Like what I'm seeing from this group, but look at how mixed up it is coming up the hill to Piratella. This is going to be difficult as it gets quite narrow and twisty here at the top of the hill.
There was some side-by-side action for about 6th place, and it just stacked everybody up. There's a 2-second gap between 5th, Leo Sequeiro, and 6th, Jem Matson. That's kind of the little separation we see. And look at them all kind of piling into the back end here. Everybody knows the gearbox.
It's going to be difficult coming into this chicane here at Alta. This is one of the tightest chicanes on the lap so far. Not seeing anybody off course. So again, this is doing pretty well, although I think Glenn Becker may have just had an issue as he's dropping on my timing and scoring. Meanwhile, our leader still sees Claridge up at the top, Nieva sitting in second, for Verbruggen in third as they started this race and complete lap 1.
I got my fingers crossed for Glenn Becker that it's just an internet connection issue because he didn't drive off the racetrack at all. And here's Cam Porter. He's trying to make a move for what is 14th place position. This is Roberto Pengrazzi that he's shifting out to the left. Oh, Roberto really squeezes him, almost contacted. Now Cam punts him in the gearbox, sends him flying through the gravel.
Oh, Pengrazzi clips the wall just a bit down here at the tire barrier of turn 2. So he's going to trundle back on, but without the nose of the car, it looks like, as it has fallen off. Meanwhile, back to Verbruggen. Seems like these three can't quite seem to get away from one another. Claridge leads Nieva, leads Verbruggen, but Kevin getting awful close up into the Tosa hairpin.
And Leo is that fourth car in line. He's just barely trying to hang on. He's about 1.1 seconds behind the group, so he is just trying to keep in touch. I'm sorry, that's Nicola, and then Leo's that fifth car in line. So a 4-car breakaway with Leo Sequeiro trying to hang on to the back end of this draft pack. And this is typically not a draft-heavy racetrack. However, that front straightaway is considerably long in length. So as long as you're there, you will get the effect.
Back down we go into Ravazzo once again. They're still being held on to by Nicola Kaki back there in fourth before we finally get a bit of a break. You can see on your screen to fifth place, Leo Sequeiro. So top four starting to kind of break away from the rest of the pack here So back to Cam Porter once again, still in the midst of action, this time on the attack with Matthew Maudsley down at Ravazza.
And Maudsley was a little bit wide there on that first apex, but really tighty there on that second apex, and in fact stands on the gas, accelerates away from this red number 15 car. So if anything, Cam's going to be looking in the rearview mirror. That's Robert Plumley. And I think that Cam might have a little bit of damage. Look at his straight line speed. He's not giving up one. He's giving up two. He's going to give up almost 3 positions as he's aggressive onto the brakes, but definitely dealing with the damaged car.
Must be significant damage. Usually you don't see them drop that quickly.
The nose cone, it's flapping all over the place. The steering's a little bit off to the right, Joe. I'm taking a look on it on my screen. There you can see the nose, just all sorts of damaged.
Wow, that's going to be a rough day for him. And I know he doesn't like to race making contact with others, so he's going to be frustrated with himself, no doubt. Look at this, going to duck underneath. John Olsen, though, great move to take that. I think he was even surprised by that. Look at that.
One beautiful thing about these cars is, yes, the aerodynamics will affect the top speed, but when it comes to the quartering grip, they're usually pretty solid. So as long as you don't bend any of those steering arms or suspension components, the cornering performance should still be there. And given the pack that Cam is kind of swallowed up in right now, he should still have plenty of good racing and laps to come.
Going to have to defend on Olsen, who looks down to the inside, coming into Alta, that bright green car. Outbrakes him into the chicane and takes that 17th spot right back.
Fortunately, now this is another one of these, I'd call it the second longest straightaway on the racetrack. See if Cam kind of drifts out to the left. No, so his braking performance still very good, and if anything, it's kind of given him confidence because he knows he's not going 4, 5, 6 miles an hour faster using the draft. He knows he's a little bit slow going into those brake zones, and in fact, here he comes into pit lane. He's going to get that car fixed up.
And that's not a meatball flag, so that is his own decision to try and do that, interestingly. It'll lose him a lot of time initially, but we'll see if he can make it back up. Back to our leaders, though, and still have not seen the top 4 spread apart from one another, still locked together in this battle for the lead. Claridge dealing with the pressure, but sometimes we tend to see this, although in the past, whenever Mick might be slow in certain places, he'll do a different first gear. I don't think that's really a problem at this track, and it didn't seem like he had a monster getaway, so I'm not sure why he's kind of holding up this group.
I wouldn't say that he's holding him up. I mean, remember, Nieva was, 8/1000ths of a second behind in qualifying, and Verbruggen was maybe 1/10.5 of a second behind. Oh, Nicola Cocky almost loses it right there, almost into the back of Kevin Verbruggen. Thankfully, I didn't see any contact, and they kind of continued on. So what was a close call there is Gary Ho was able to get by Jem Matson. You know, I was going to talk about the race up front and Mick Claridge's attitude, but it seems like things are kind of unraveling out here on the racetrack.
Matson in the background having a bit of a time with Zabala starting to approach on him. There we can see the battle, and again, it is really backing things up. That's Gary Quellen in the blue car just in front of him as we ride on board with Mikael, and this is going to be another chance to maybe use that slipstream, but I gotta admit, this front straight kind of scares me in these cars, the way they kind of weave around.
Yeah, and there's one little choke point. Here's another little funnel point, and thankfully, they're giving each other their own lane out there on the racetrack, and you see down here into the brake zone, it all kind of blends into the outside there. That's kind of where those serious choke points and accidents can happen, just like we've seen in the real world with some pass attempts and then maybe a helmet slap or two.
Exactly, and as we watch them come through the Villeneuve chicane, these cars don't have the downforce that the modern F1 cars do. Big dive down to the inside. That forces Zabala out wide, and Frege will get it anyways. He was the one that sent that in a bit deep. Meanwhile, just behind them, Rolly Wallbank getting an opportunity coming up to Piratella, but he backs out of it.
Just trying to find the momentum where you can on this racetrack, and Wallbank is all over the back of Zabala here, and Zabala all over the back of Frege, so a nice little mid-pack fight. Up the hill we go towards turn number 11 and 12. You see Rolly Wallbank didn't get the best drive out, so he's got to concentrate on maybe rolling the speed, jump this apex curb, jump the second apex curb, run it all the way out driver's right. Try to stand on the gas as much as he can, but he didn't close it up that much. He's going to look towards the slipstream coming out of that turn number 15, the second Ravazza corner.
And Zabala's given another go at things with Frege, who's already passed him now. Let's see what this exit, as you were talking about, brings the pair of them. And it's a good run from Mikael. He could maybe try and use that slipstream to get by Santiago, but he'll have to position himself carefully with the back and forth motion of this racetrack. The inside has been left open, and he's going to easily work his way through.
Yeah, and nicely done. A little bit wide there. He's going to jump over those curbs. That's going to open the door for Frege. Let's see if he's going to pull an over-under attempt. He's already on the gas. He's already side by side. How much does Zabala push it? Way deeper. He is going to maintain that 11th place position.
Off behind them, Rolly Wallbank really pushing to try and utilize this spar that these two are having. See if he can maybe get involved, but maybe he's pushing a little too hard as the car getting awful close to the gravel pits and some of the corner exits. In the meantime, it's up to Piratella now for this group as we once again come back to Claridge. Nieva putting a little bit of pressure on now, seeing maybe if he could get a mistake out of the number 4.
Okay, so back to my long-winded ADD point about Mick Claridge and his aggressiveness out there on the racetrack. I don't think that he's holding up these competitors behind him. If anything, Nieva's doing Mick Claridge a service. How often do we see Mick Claridge be one of the most aggressive drivers out there and want to lead these races? Well, guess what? When he's in clean air, all he's got to go and do out there is focus on hitting his marks, turning laps. When he's in second, when he's in third, when he's in fourth place, he seems to get this anxiousness of needing to go out there and lead this race. Right now, Joe, I think that Mick Claridge is in his happy spot. And if anything, these top two are starting to pull away from Kevin Verbruggen and Nicola Kaki. That's great when it comes down to the actual strategy of when to race at the end.
Yeah, clear track in front of Mick. That's got to be a beautiful sight. And you're right. It's almost a second down to Verbruggen. It is now 2.5 seconds from Kevin to Nicola. So big gap down from third to fourth. I think that mistake that we saw him have in the Alta chicane really cost him. In fact, Leo Sequeiro might make it a bit of a battle for him. Meanwhile, it is getting ever closer to the gearbox, to the nose of the 4 and the 1, and we're only on lap 7. This is shaping up to be a fascinating race.
And Nieva just had a huge wiggle going down into turn number 9. You're always trying to maximize the width of the track here at Imola. And yeah, those outside tires barely on the grass. Thankfully was able to save it without any loss of time out there. And see these two leaders completely stable as they jump up and over those apex curbs. Complete yet another lap here at Imola.
Love the old Bell-style side mirrors as well that these cars have. Not like the sort of thin limo ones that they have nowadays, but certainly a very distinct style of the time as they come down the main straight. And he's a little farther back from Mick Claridge. Mick responding in the second half of the lap to get himself clear of his fellow champion. Both of them champions here in this series. Verbruggen and Kaki, though, still looking for their first in behind them, and they hit that first chicane once again. Am I seeing a little bit of lap traffic in front of them?
We just ran up on our first lap car this previous time by, so yes, I think that we're going to be getting it. And here at Imola, things tend to get stretched out a little bit, but one of the problems with sharing the commentary booth with an ADD teammate over here, Joe, you said limo mirrors. When I think of a limo, I think of the V antenna. Why is it a limo mirror on the new F1 cars?
I probably misquoted. It was the first thing that came to mind because they're long and thin. So
yeah, I gotcha. Okay.
Anyways, back to Jim Matson and behind them battles 2x2. Here we go up into Tosa. Clapper and Zabala, Quellen and Matson each squabbling for position, and it's a steep uphill climb here into Piratella. Whoever can get it into this left-hander more successfully going to come away with it, and it looks like Jim Matson going to vanquish Quellen at least this time by, or will he, as Gary's going to try and come back at him into Aqua Minerale, but no dice.
It's just way too shallow going into that complex as we watch the second pair. I think that was Rolly Wallbank chasing Santiago Frega here as we're kind of giving that drone camera as we go up the hill here. Try to jam on the brakes at the same time, roll as much speed as you possibly can through those chicanes here and jump back another couple cars. This is the number 10 car. Jason Clapper, typically our biggest mover, and actually is our biggest mover right now. However, the car behind him only about 1 second. Aitor Blanco also up plus 13 positions. He's following Jason through the field today.
If you see Zabala suddenly run down the order, that's because he had a slide in the Ravazza double apexer, so that's why he's lost a couple positions quite quickly. Colin down one from where he started. There is Zabala just behind him. So Gary got one back from the spin from Mikael, who's now sandwiched between Gary and Robert Plumley. This is a battle for 13th.
Yeah, like you said, good little mid-pack fight here. And I do have to tell myself that I'm... Oh, that was a huge incident on the racetrack. Gary Quellen's going to get away unscathed, but I think that was Zabala involved in it, as well as maybe a couple others.
I have no idea who to put that on, because three cars just seem to almost outbrake each other and kind of collect one another in a pile there going through the Villeneuve chicane. And Wallbank gets to laugh himself to the bank after that one, coming away with 13th.
Sometimes it is all about accident avoidance and being in the right place at the right time. As looks like Mickey Friesen's now going to try to take his shot at Aitor Blanco. I think that Aitor was the other car that was involved in it, because remember, I was just mentioning how Aitor was right on the back of Jason Clapper, so he has now fallen down a couple positions. He was definitely affected by that.
That was very out of the blue. So those cars, unfortunately, all very compromised by that one. You can see a little bit of damage as well. I think that is Mickey Friesen that, on the middle of our screen, missing the nose of the car. Back to Nieva and Claridge. They won't let us look away from them too long. I did notice that Jorge was once again getting very, very close. But each time he gets close, it seems like something kind of pushes him away yet again.
Let's just kind of watch him here for about a half a lap or so. Mick Claridge definitely already feeling the pressure. You saw him kind of hanging out in the middle of the racetrack going into that Tosa hairpin just to kind of say, Nieva, don't go up the inside here. It's not going to work. You're too far back. And if anything, it just allows this number one car to continue to follow right in the tire tracks. And not only in the tire tracks, but half a car length to the inside there. Jorge doing exactly what he needs to do. Seems like he's got a little bit more speed than this yellow and black number 4 car out front.
He has been putting the pressure on, even if he has the speed. I mean, like you said, 0.008 of a second difference in qualifying. It doesn't seem like there is a major difference in pace. And with this place being kind of notorious for difficulty in passing, I wonder if that's making life a little bit frustrating for Nieva right now.
Probably, but we're halfway through, right? We're coming up to complete lap number 10 out here of this 20-lap race. So when I look at the big Bob Ross landscape of it all, Nieva's right where he needs to be. Yeah, he maybe slipped up a little bit on Sector 3 this lap, but he's still, call it 0.4 of a second behind our leader. He's plenty in position to make it a race to try to win this thing.
Fastest lap of the race for Mick, so he's still pushing. He's still going as hard as he can. These top two now 4 seconds ahead of Verbruggen. They have absolutely dropped third place. It is now a 2-horse race at the front. And we're down to 10 laps to go. We are into the second half.
I will say that gap of 4.5 seconds, I was watching Kevin Verbruggen maybe about 3 or 4 laps ago, and while our leaders were able to get through some lap traffic, actually on this section of the racetrack where they are right now, unfortunately, Verbruggen got held up huge from a lap car up at the top of the hill here at turn number 8, and it cost him nearly 3 seconds, Joe.
Well, sometimes traffic will just not go your way, especially in a series that will see a wide variety of paces out there. It's definitely grown in popularity over the last couple years. We see pretty good fields. You can see over 40 signing up for today's race. Definitely a lot of drivers interested in this vintage machinery these days, but these two have been stalwarts in this series. Oh, and it's a slowdown penalty from Mick Claridge. I said it may affect someone's race. It has affected our leader.
Oh my goodness. So he just has to hand that over to Nieva. The big part, how much can he give away and not fall out of that slipstream range? You see that orange and blue number 1 car accelerate its way down the front straightaway. I see 3/4 of a second, but it's already closing in. Mick Claridge just barely got away with that one.
Sometimes patience is a virtue, and Jorge Nieva waited and put the pressure on, and eventually it has paid him back. What about Seb Clapper here? Up to 10th after starting in 35th. Make that 9th as he easily goes by Jim Matson with a slip-up.
Unfortunately, Matson's going to have to grab a gear, get going again, and he's going to watch all these cars drive right by him on the front straightaway, including Rolly Wallbank there. I think that Robert Plumley is going to be next up as Jem is just kind of a sit and duck right here. Plumley going to take a really deep lunge, but finally Jim just kind of back into the swing of things with the rhythm. He's going to try to go chase down Rolly Wallbank. Even though he made that mistake, he knows he's fast. Go catch that group in front of him.
And for Matson, this is not ideal because he did hit the wall there coming out of that final turn. So I'm not sure what state that left front is in. These cars definitely known for having a lot of power with very little weight. Coming out of that slow corner, it looked like it bit him. And Plumley going to see if maybe he can take advantage of what could be a wounded duck, if we're talking about sitting ducks here, of Jim Matson.
Well, we're going to see if he can, what is it, crack that duck, Joe? Is that what you say?
Break that duck.
You're going to see if he can break that duck out there and make some of those passes on the racetrack, as Jason Clapper is kind of stalled out right here behind Matthew Maudsley. So he is up 15 places. He was up 13 positions just a couple laps ago, but it seems like this number 18 car finally got some decent pace underneath them and providing Jason a good challenge. In fact, Jason, I think, has to go wide there on that chicane. It's going to cost him a little bit of time, probably a couple positions.
Yeah, he very early decided he was just blowing through that one, unfortunately, and that will force him into that slowdown penalty. Sometimes it is discretion is the better part of valor sort of thing. Just take that cut course penalty knowing you're not going to make the corner and keep it pointed the right way. Now he gets to get back on the throttle and try to chase down Matthew Maudsley and separate himself from another driver who's made mistakes in this race, Mikhail Zabala, all the way down to 18th after starting 13th today.
This is a fast pack, despite being back here fighting for what is 16th place position. Like you said, Zabala had a couple mistakes, so that's the reason why he's back there. I saw Aitor Blanco, remember, he was really working his way up through the field with Jason Clapper, so all those drivers are packed together as we watch Kevin Verbruggen officially chase down Leo Sequeiro. Now, these positions, these positions have swapped around, so Leo's actually overtaken. Kevin's trying to get it back.
Remember, Kevin was all the way up in third. Yeah, he had a spin in Tosa. I went back on my screen to find it and just kind of found himself sitting sideways at that hairpin. So that's why he is so far down at this stage and now working hard to try and get this back from Leo Sequeiro. This could be a great opportunity here soon.
This is, I think, one of the things that Kevin wants to get rid of this season. I know that when we got him back on the podium about halfway through last season, one of his points was he wants to work on consistency. He knows he has the speed out there. Unfortunately, consistency biting here in round number 1 of the new season at Imola.
And this is not the only close battle we've got from a driver trying to recover. Mick Claridge has already gotten on the back of Jorge Nieva. The roles have been reversed, so how is Jorge going to deal with this?
Oh, that was an aggressive look from Kevin there going into that Villeneuve chicane. That was, it can be a passing opportunity, but it's so fast on entry that you really have to be careful of everybody else going in on that piece of racetrack. Thankfully, no contact between the two, but I think it just might highlight the urgency that Kevin has, that he wants to get by that number 5.
That was Perales there that we saw at the side of the road, so that was just a lapped car. That wasn't for position. but they overtook Gary Quellen still in it here in this group as he battles with Jim Matson and Robert Plumley coming up to Tosa as well.
No.
They're going to make contact, and Plumley will inherit a position. John Olson will inherit a position. They actually start battling as those two are left in a heap at the uphill hairpin.
I have to giggle because they're kind of interlocked wheels right now, and if that was real life, they're about 3 feet from each other with their fists out pointing at each other, saying, "What are you doing? Why did you make me crash?"
I mean, we are in Italy. It could be a lot of gesticulating there, but McClarridge in the meantime, oh, he's very close. He's got a chance. Doesn't cover the inside. Nieva leaves the door open. Is this going to be McClarridge through and back into first? They're side by side under braking. Deeper for Nieva, but he can't quite hold him off, and Claridge will be through.
You could tell Nieva wanted to turn in there at turn number 2 and take it too wide through the chicane. Now he's going to get aggressive. No, not going to happen this time. I think that was a over-adventurous peek to the inside. Maybe something down here into the hairpin. Claridge once again covers it off. So Mick had an answer after he got the slowdown. Nieva got into the lead. Well, that yellow number 4 car back out front with 5.5 laps remaining.
And this is a bit unusual for Nieva. He's a driver very well known for being quite polite, maybe almost a little too giving if he finds himself under pressure. And he is fighting back hard. To see him poke his nose in multiple difficult places, to me says he is hungry for this win.
He's on the gas right now, still going up the hill. Does Claridge chop the nose? He officially leaves him a lane. Thank you, Mick. You got to love to see that. Oftentimes, you kind of have it more in multi-class where one car kind of chops over in front of the other in the braking zone, and accidents can happen. But nice racing between the two. Nieva with a big head of steam, but he's just going to kind of hang out right on the gearbox.
And you can tell from what we're seeing here, this series very well known for its gentlemanly racing. The drivers will race you hard, but very fair. Space is almost always given, although only just enough in some cases, like these two who know what they're doing, as he's going to have a chance to try and get back at him, but he's in the same position he was last time, on the outside into Tamburello, and he's actually wheels in the grass, it almost looked like for a brief moment, and he'll have to back out of it.
Definitely had those right side tires in the grass. Our second place runner there of Nieva, but no spin, was able to keep it on the racing line. And that last lap just between them battling, to kind of put it into perspective, our third place car of Nick Gocke was nearly 1 full second faster. So this is the benefit of being able to run out there, is that you get to battle side by side. And even if you have slow lap times, you don't have to worry about that rear view mirror immediately.
Tried to cut back at him coming out of Tosa, but didn't get the launch that he wants. Nieva's trying to get creative out there. See if he can maybe outgun him off a corner instead of outbrake him into it.
That's the best way to make a pass, is get the run down the straightaway so you're actually in position by the time you get to the brake zone. But it is much easier said than done out there. Oftentimes it requires a mistake or a little bit of a wheel spin issue out of the car directly in front. And McClarridge hanging out the tail out of that final chicane, but seems to get the forward drive off, and that's the most important part in these cars.
There's no aero difference between how you set these cars up, but there is definitely a difference in the gearing, potentially a difference as well, and, well, appropriately, the differential in the car. And coming off the final corner, who has it set up how between the pair of them? This is one of the better runs we've seen from Jorge Nieva. In fact, he's really going to have the momentum, shooting down the outside, coming up to Tamburello. He's got a little bit of a nose ahead coming into the braking, but he backs out of it as they get to the apex.
So this section, I've seen Nieva be able to roll the speed a little bit better, but going down into the second chicane, it's just not a passing opportunity. Claridge on the back foot, and Nieva has to lift off of the gas. Joe, that was a huge head of steam that the number 1 car had, but just couldn't do anything with it. Had to lift off of the throttle not to run into the back of our leader.
Things are getting a little fierce between these two now. We're seeing a lot of movement out there between them. Hopefully we can keep this clean to the end. Both probably won it, as like I said, they have been racing each other for many years now in this series. And again, he is right there, but Claridge positions his car perfectly.
Mick was just a little bit wide there at the top of the hill, and Nieva was almost able to sneak underneath, but just couldn't get the traction to really carve the corner there. Another little bit of a decent run, but I just don't think he's close enough to make the move. This isn't a huge break zone. It's actually kind of uphill, so a little bit shorter than what you would expect. It does crest at the top, and I think that's why people have so many issues with it, but I think going down into the Ravazza corner, Nieva's had a huge head of steam here the last couple laps. Honestly, I think that might be the place right there where Nieva finally tries to make that pass.
Interesting note, John Olsen has been in pit lane, but now he has a black flag. So I wonder if that was due to a speeding penalty, which may have been him serving an incident limits penalty before, because it's only 1.1 second there in pit lane. Not sure why he did that. As we get side by side now, coming into the braking of Tamburello once again. This time he's going to hang tough round the outside. He'll hold the second apex, but not the third. He's figuring things out bit by bit. Nieva's getting closer.
He is. Claridge did a nice job to give him just barely enough room, and from this point of view, look what is just ahead of us on the racetrack. I see two lapped cars. Big save from Nieva right there, so nice job. And you see the steering wheel corrections, just tiny little opposite corrections there, trying to keep the car pointed straight, but we're coming up to a very single file section of the racetrack with lapped cars in front of us.
Usually, Joey, we talk about race car drivers having to try something different and surprise their competitors. Is it possible for him to just bit by bit chip away, figuring out how he can outgun him through that one corner?
Technically, yes. I mean, as far as chipping away, once you finally get that final chip and he makes the mistake, that could be all that you need. Oh, that lapped car going to go sailing off driver's left, jumping through the chicane there. So a non-issue now for our leaders. I do think that this section right here, going down into turn number 14, this is where Nieva is actually the closest and is stronger on the brakes. He hasn't shown the cards at all going down the hill. I think that could be the curveball.
Holding that close to his chest, maybe. Is that the surprise, as I was alluding to? Most drivers try to pull out if they want to make an attack and are having difficulty getting by. He'll once again get a very good run. This time, though, he lifts before the braking zone.
Almost really ran into the right rear suspension components of our leader because he had such a huge run down the straightaway, but time is running out. 2 laps to go here. Who is going to settle it? Mick Claridge, who's really kind of been in control all race long, or the challenger, Nieva, 8/1000ths of a second slower in qualifying, maintained the lead when it was given to him, but now has got to earn the win.
Oh, there's some of that lap traffic off the course, going to stay fully to the side. That's Don Peak letting them through. Nieva cannot capitalize, and Claridge will hold the lead once again into the braking. Again, it looks like, right up to the back and makes contact. He's going to lift, let him hold on to the position, but Nieva has shown how much faster he is than Claridge.
Here is where I feel that Nieva is faster. Through the medium and high speed corners, it just seems like Nieva is able to roll the speed through the apexes, really carve the corners with this setup, while Mick Claridge, through these sections of corners, is able to put the power down and squirm away from Nieva.
Now there's a little bit of damage on the nose of Jorge, and is that going to affect him like we saw earlier with some drivers lacking the top-end speed? Cam Porter really had a charge. Oh, no! Into a slid car. That was Paul Taylor just at the wrong place at the wrong time.
So unfortunate for our leaders to run up on that. Mick Claridge had a little bit of a cleaner view, but Nieva was kind of blocked from it. You see him still going on the racetrack, but you got to wonder what damage is done. Mick Claridge, 3 seconds out front.
Jason Clapper doing Jason Clapper things. He's up to 11th from 32nd right now, and he's working on Santiago Frega for a top 10 position. He'll have 1 lap to do it, and they still need to take that white flag. He's got a good run coming down into Ravazza. It looks like he is going to maybe back it up. No, he's going to attack hard around the outside.
Let's see if he's able to keep it on the racetrack. He's going to have to take the long way around the second Ravazza corner, which can be a struggle. puts the power down, little bit of contact. Is it going to be forced into pit lane? We're going to be 3 wide potentially on the front straightaway, taking the white flag for these cars.
Everybody scatters to try and get themselves some position. Robert Plumley has to lift as he cannot get it 3 wide, just too narrow coming up to this first corner. Inside for Frega, outside for Clapper. Car slides a little bit, and we got a car completely cutting across the chicane. Guys, we still got a lap to go here.
Oh my goodness, I think Mick Claridge is going to be coming down the hill here pretty soon, but this battle is just fierce, and they are on their last lap. Jason Clapper finally able to clear himself into the top 10.
2 corners to go for Mick Claridge, about the only lap he's going to have by himself out here, but it's the one that matters most. The number 4 started this one from pole. He didn't lead every lap, but boy, did he control this race. Mick Claridge is your winner for round 1 this season in the Grand Prix Legends.
Nieva will cross the line in second place position, with Nick Cockey rounding out the podium in third. And a name that we didn't say at all during this broadcast. I've been doing my deepest CSI investigations over here. The number 32 car of Seb Clapper. Now, those are 2 names that we don't usually see together, but he started in the back, was our biggest mover, plus 27. He's going to finish on 8th place on the day. I wonder if that's our old buddy Seb Tixier.
Yeah, we cannot confirm that right now, obviously, but we have our suspicions. Also, a tip of the hat to Henry Morse from 10th to 6th. Great race from him. Meanwhile, the Clapper that we know is an actual Clapper is Jason. He is in 11th, still trying to hold off Frega. Did he get it? It looks like he did, but boy, it was tight. It was about... oh, no, that was with Plumley.
Plumley.
Wow.
1/100th of a second. Oh, my goodness. Clapper got booted from the top 10 in the last 50 yards? Oh, no.
Gonna be annoyed about that one, no doubt. Ben Summers here finishing up his race down in 25th, which is actually exactly where he started this one, so can't complain too much. Jim Matson just ahead of him, though, definitely could complain. Started 7th, only 24th today.
Well, looks like we're getting all of the cars rounding the front straightaway and across the start-finish line. What a race. We had 40 cars out here at Imola.
And it gave us a doozy for that battle for the lead, which was won by Mick Claridge in the end. Coming away our victor ahead of Jorge Nieva, with Nicola Cockey finishing in third today. You've got Leo Sequeiro finishing P4 with Kevin Verbruggen in 5th. We'll be able to show you here on screen. 6 goes to Henry Morse and Gary Ho in 7th. Seb Clapper, 35th to 8th. Very curious if that's him. Bill Tyler is 9th, and Robert Plumley, not too shabby as well, 21st to 10th.
Nicely done there from Plumley in that number 14 car. And then we got Jason Clapper back here, who we just saw that awesome finish. I don't think that he thought it was awesome, but he does finish in 11th place, up 21 positions for Jason. Santiago Frega, who we watched in the middle of that battle for a number of laps, finishes in 12th. Rolly Wallbank also in the thick of it, 13th. Mikhail Zabala back here, 14th. Maudsley, 15th. Mickey Friesen, all part of that same pack in 16th place. Aitor Blanco back here, 17th. Gary Quellen, 18th. Kirk Clapper, 19th. And Tomas Tuba, actually a pretty gosh dang good day, plus 14 for Tomas out there, finishing in 20th.
And 21st going to go to Henry Veramaki, with Sandeep Banerjee finishing in 22nd. Andre Bruno, P23. Jim Matson, as we said, having a bit of a crummy day and finishing 24th. Ben Summers, 25th. Tobias Harnvey, P26 for him, followed by John Olson, another driver that went way backwards and was the first a lap down in 27th. Tomaski, 28th. Villershausen, 29th. Don Peak in 30th.
31st, we have Mr. Zen Car, very chill out there. Paul Taylor finishing in 32nd, 1 lap down. And then, unfortunately, for the rest of the drivers here, they had problems out there on the racetrack. That includes Ma, Southwell, Perales, Pengrazi, Fuentes, Schrader, Porter, and Becker. And actually 41 Newell at the end.
Yep, I think he may have been a did not start for this one, unfortunately. It looks like we've got second place ready to chat with us, Jorge Nieva. Let's see if we can have a little conversation with him about how that battle was out on track, because, boy, was it fun to watch. Jorge, we enjoyed ourselves getting to see you and Mick go at it, hammer and tongs. What was it like inside the car?
It was tons of fun. I really enjoyed it. It was really nice. At one point, I almost killed him, but lucky he could control the car. So I'm glad he could win. He deserved it.
Thankfully, no manslaughter charges on this one, but you came up upon an accident and that separated things. Were you kind of blinded by Mick in front of you, or did you see it coming and just couldn't avoid?
Nah, I'm just that bad. I don't have reflexes. I can't overtake. I didn't know what to do, so I locked the rears, I think, and well, luckily the car wasn't damaged and I could bring the car home.
Yeah, at least it was still a second place. So, I mean, quite a start to the season. Didn't see Adrius Valenteus. Can you maybe come back for a second championship this time?
I don't think so. I think I'll miss several races this season because it's holidays, but well, I'll try to be there as much as I can.
Well, we'll look forward to more battles up front from you. Again, congratulations on a podium.
Thank you.
Up next, I think Joey has caught up with our winner, Mick Claridge.
Well, Mick Claridge, it seems like you were able to hang on to this one. Congratulations, bud.
Cheers, mate.
So, you barely able to grab pole position by, less than 1/100th of a second. You gave it up in terms of the lead in the middle of the race. You fought back to win it. How do you feel?
Yeah, pretty good, mate, to be honest with you. I don't know. I sort of, it sounds a bit weird saying this, but I sort of felt a bit slow in that race today because I don't know what was going on. I didn't change the set or anything. We should have been a lot closer. Jorge was a hell of a lot quicker than me, as you guys could say. If it wasn't for that last chicane, he would have been just driving away from me because I literally, every time we come here, I pretty much set up for that chicane to get over the curbs. And you can see how much it pays off because it saves you down the whole straight, most of the time, So I was just happy that I was getting a good run out the chicane. Then it seemed that Jorge sort of got that chicane nailed, and then that was it. That was when we were side by side down into turn one. But it was a brilliant fight. I've never had a fight with Jorge like that before. In fact, I'm going to start calling him George because we all call him George.
Well, and he even got up there and he said he almost killed you up there at the top of the hill at one point.
I missed that. I left the chat before he said that. I don't know where
he got into the back of your gearbox there up at 8.
Yeah, I was really slow because the tires were just so hot. I was so slow through that corner. That wasn't his fault, but I had to save it for my life, to keep it going straight.
Well, and let me ask you this, because this was an observation that I saw. It seemed like he was much faster through the medium and high-speed corners in comparison to yourself, while you were able to nail the chicanes. And, I mean, count them. There's, 5 chicanes here?
Yeah, that's what it is. I mean, like I say, I always set up for the chicanes in just to get over the sausage curbs. And you have to. I don't know if it slows the car down everywhere else. Probably not. But, that's what I do. It's just good to be on pace again. That I feel like I'm on pace. Man, I've had 18 months of illness, and you saw what I was like last season. I can't even believe I raced last season, to be honest with you. The way I felt, it's just good that I'm better again and I'm back on form.
Well, I'm pretty surprised to see Joe Peak over here in the chat saying, not a very big pole margin, mistakes to give away the lead, and he didn't keep the tires cool out there. Is Mick Claridge losing his touch?
Yeah. Hello, Joe.
having some fun at your expense here in the background.
Oh, no, really? Oh, don't stop, mate. Just carry on, Just let's not change anything, eh?
Mick, thank you so much for being one of the best characters that always comes out and races with us every single week. Is there anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Oh yeah, there's a few. Yeah, all the people in Uxbridge are watching. Hopefully, Emma's watching. Hello to Emma. And I think maybe two, if not three, of the Mackenzie boys are watching today, Joey. So don't mess with the Mackenzie boys.
We will not be messing with the Mackenzie boys. And that was Mick Claridge, your winner of round number 1 here at Imola.
And I think we have our last podium sitter, Nick Cockey, ready to chat with us as well. Nick, it seemed like you had the pace to hold on to that top group early in the race, but things started to slip away. Mick mentioned the tire temperatures. Is that what cost you a little bit of pace by the end?
Oh yeah, I totally agree with him. The car felt so slow today, and I had much time to practice because I practiced also in week 13. And to be honest, I never felt the car this weird as today. It was so hard to put the power down on exits. The car was sliding everywhere, rotating like, I don't know, 3 times as much as normal. And I realized this during qualify because I was struggling so much to keep the car on track, to be honest. And as soon as I saw this, I was very, very careful in the first part of the race, and I was easily keeping the pace on the guy in front. But on the chicane, I almost killed Kevin, because I think that our braking marker is different there. Car, of course, snapped like crazy. I was very, very lucky to avoid the slowdown. But from that moment, for like 6 laps, the car was almost undrivable. I was almost like half a second slower than my usual pace. So when the car does that, you just need to try to tone down your driving and hope for the tires to come back. And that's what I did. I needed to slow down, and that was killing my race, of course. But you have no chance, so I just did that.
It's always tough as a race car driver to fight that urge and try and slow a little bit. If I remember correctly, I believe you're on the side of Italy that's close to Imola. Have you been to this real track in person?
Oh yeah, man! It's like 10 minutes from my house driving.
Oh,
so it's
party at Nick's house.
Yeah, I've been there like countless time. I know almost all the tricks to enter. Not very legally the track. And
definitely a party at Nick's house then.
Yeah, I always been envious about all the the houses that you can see around the track. And my actual dream house is the house is inside the Tosa corner, the hairpin. And so yeah, I know the place very well. Yeah.
Well, we'll have to talk about that later in case I ever get over to Italy for some races. But again, congratulations on a podium today.
Thank you, guys. See you next time. I will hope to get a little bit better weather or track temperature, so I can be closer to Jorge and Mick. So my congratulations goes to them.
That was Nick Cockey finishing 3rd today, and wonder if he's going to head to the track and find a few places closed up next time he tries to get in. But we're going to close out ourselves with a big thank you to the Grand Prix Legends community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. And also thanks to the team today, Joey, Christian, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. Next race for this series is the Hungaroring for round 2. That'll be Saturday, June 28th at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. But as for up next, it's more like right now. The Majors 24 at Le Mans is on air right here on GSRC. So go tune in, check out to see how they're doing. I think they're still in hour 2 or thereabouts. So early days in the race, plenty of action to come. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.